What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again, and today starts the first day of the Crucible test labs, and I was rather excited when I thought that this was a public test server being announced. However, those hopes and dreams and expectations all came crashing down in a crescendo of disappointment when on the Bungie blog, Derek Carroll wrote this. As noted in our most recent roadmap, Crucible Labs shipped with Destiny Update 1.2.1. While the content has been downloaded and installed on your platform, the feature is not yet available. PvP design lead Derek Carroll has some information to set proper expectations for the feature, and what to expect when it becomes available. Derek Carroll says, and I quote, "The Crucible team has been working hard behind the scenes to improve Destiny 2's PvP offering, and to get new content to players more quickly. With update 1.2.1, we ship some bits that will let us turn on our experimental Crucible Labs playlist. To set expectations somewhat, Crucible Labs isn't a totally different game. It's not a different version of Destiny 2 hiding out on the Crucible page of the director. It is a playlist that will feature new game modes soon, and some different tweaks to modes that you're already enjoying starting tomorrow. Crucible Labs is a way for our team to try new stuff out in the wild before it's done, and to solicit feedback from the community. We've never done this before, and there will be bumps in the road, but I hope you'll come along for the ride and help us make Destiny 2's Crucible even better for all Guardians. Stay tuned to @Bungie for announcements of availability. The first test begins May 30th, 2018 at 9 AM Pacific Standard Time." So my first question is, inevitably, why didn't they disclose all of this information when Crucible Labs was originally announced to curb community expectations? Then and there. Clearly, they knew what the scope and scale of Crucible Labs was when it was announced, as it was part of the most recent update, and it wasn't announced all that long ago. Sure, maybe they had to put a couple of bells and whistles on it, but clearly, they knew what it would entail. But clearly, they just let the hype of what this feature could be not only carry this feature, but carry Warmind, only to, when it comes out, like everything else with Destiny 2 at this point, be a disappointment upon release. But hey, fucking details. So my next question ultimately is, what exactly is the purpose of this Crucible Labs playlist? Currently they say it's to test new game types, and that's it, as it's not being used to test sandbox changes. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that I can play the love child between Clash and Survival with extra steps that nobody asked for in a beta phase, but game types have never been Destiny's problem. Sure, there's been some flops and there's game types that nobody wants to play, but the real issue has always been sandbox changes. And here, once again, Bungie has squandered a perfect opportunity to introduce a tool that would allow the community to taste what they've been asking for. The Destiny community says, hey, you know what? It might be nice if kill times were, say, 0.8 seconds across the board. Let's try that for a week. Or the Destiny community says, hey, you know what would be cool? If all hand cannons were 3-tap capable and as good as they were in year 1. Let's try that out for a week. But no, we didn't get that. We got a game type beta playlist, which, if Bungie had properly fleshed out their custom games feature with lots of features and game types and little dials that the community could adjust to their whim, kinda like almost exactly what they did with Halo. I mean, if they did that, we wouldn't even need a beta game type playlist, as the community could create content, and the best of that content, as voted on by the community, could be assimilated into existing playlists, kind of almost exactly like what Bungie did with Halo. What happened to this, Bungie?
There's just way too much. You can't keep it all in your head at once.
It was so beyond our production capability. We were just like, that's crazy. We can't do that. I couldn't stop the artist who started creating it.
We always had this vision right from the get-go, which was anyone can build anything.
Giving the fans the tools, they can take it and run with it and make it their own.
We definitely looked at what we did in Halo 3 and said, what can we learn from this? It's one thing to build just a stunning amount of map variants, but nobody was expecting Forge Art, I don't think. That was just a completely, whoa, what?
The Rube Goldberg machines, yeah, those are everywhere.
In Halo 3, it was cool that you could move things around, but it was still kind of clunky.
And we're like, we have to make this better.
What are some of the tricks that the community is using, and how can we make those not be tricks and just make those be tools?
custom game options and Forge go together like peanut butter and jelly. You're able to do things with game types that people might not even expect. My favorite example is King of the Hill, where the warthog is the hill.
I'm super excited to see what people do with it when it goes out, because there's so much crazy stuff in there that's amazing.
We are shipping maps on the disc that we made in Forge ourselves. So the tools are there. If you have the time and the talent, you can make it.
The community is just going to outstrip us and spank us.
With the new tagging system, you can save a Forge variant, you can post it to your file share, and then you can say, sweet new map.
Things that are good are downloaded by a lot of people and passed around to a lot of people, and that makes the really sweet stuff bubble up to the top. I'm looking forward to what the next big community game type is going to be.
We realized that Reach was our swan song to Halo, and what better way to do that than to let people do what we've been doing all along, which is creating new cool maps.
It's nice to go out with a bang, and this is a pretty big one.
And speaking of Halo, in Halo 3, the MLG playlist had completely different settings for player movement, damage, and health than the standard playlists. It was done in an attempt to make the playlist more consistent over Xbox Live. So it's not like Bungie doesn't know how to craft different playlists with different rule sets and different ability sets. Unless we're back to Destiny was built on a shit engine that simply does not have the flexibility to run multiple rule sets across the board. Which is likely why we don't have any real customization in custom games, nor why we have no map editor, because if they could have Forge, or a map editing system as nimble as Forge, why wouldn't they use it? And I'm not asking for anything outside the pale. I mean, they've been doing custom games and map editors since Marathon. While I'm sure this is blah blah blah, something first step blah blah blah, and I'm sure it will blah 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 hopefully fucking evolve blah blah blah, and this is a step in the blah 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 right direction blah blah blah, and all the things that we're tired of hearing at this point blah blah blah, and I'm sure they're listening blah blah blah, and yeah. This playlist currently in its current implementation is arbitrary at best. It's just so frustrating at this point. Destiny will go down as a game with loads of potential rendered pointless by incompetence in its management staff and the limitation of its tools, which will forever be a step down from the tools that they used to create Halo nearly a decade ago, and in some cases over a decade ago. It's a smokescreen. It's like, look, we're listening. Here's your public test drum that you wanted that will ultimately do nothing in the scope of changing Destiny for the better. At the end of the day, what the community was asking for, what they wanted, was a way to test sandbox changes before they inevitably are introduced into the game and they fuck it up, and Bungie doesn't do anything about these sandbox changes for months and months and months and months and months and months at a time, like they did with Destiny 1. We really don't care about game types, and if custom games were an option and they were anywhere near as fleshed out as, say, Halo's, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. We wouldn't need to test new game types because the community would be making hundreds of thousands of them daily that we could test on the fly. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. And like always, stay frosty.